Dear students, good morning. Let us start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 25th April 2018. The first article, it is related to impeachment of Chief Justice of India. You know that a motion is introduced by the opposition in Rajya Sabha and chairperson Mr. Venkaiah Naidu has rejected the same. So in this context, does he have powers to do that or not is the question. Here we have to see Article 124 subclause 4, Judges Inquiry Act 1968, and the third thing is about Krishna Swamy judgment of the Supreme Court. These three have to be understood to understand that particular scenario. Article 124 subclause 4 states that a judge can be removed from the office on the proven misbehavior and then incapacity. These are the two grounds. This misbehavior, what does it mean, is not stated in the constitution. It was left to the parliament to decide. In this context, Judges Inquiry Act 1968 was enacted by the parliament, which states that the presiding officer has to constitute a three-member committee consists of judge of a Supreme Court, Chief Justice of High Court, and a jurist. Now, here the major question is, can a presiding officer reject a motion without sending it for a committee? Or after the report of the judges or three committee members, three-member committee, the presiding officer has that power. The law is not clear on this. Here, a bit of clarity can come through Krishna Swamy judgment. What Supreme Court stated is the speaker or the chairman, they have to act with utmost care, circumspection, and responsibility. So it is meant to protect independence of the judiciary. So the Supreme Court itself has stated that any initiation of impeachment will have a chilling effect on independence of judiciary and public perception about the functioning and administration of justice. So in a nutshell, the Supreme Court has expected the presiding officer to be a reasonable man with utmost responsibility. So indirectly it says that the admission or rejection of a motion is ultimately the discretion of the presiding officer. But it did not give the clarity to the maximum or 200%. That's where the legal issue lies today. Master of the next steps. This article talks about the powers of CJI. How did this entire issue of impeachment motion against CJI has started? He asserted himself as the master of the roster. Four senior most judges, they came into open and they expressed their grievance to the nation. So the allegation is the CJI is selectively allocating the cases only to certain benches, and the senior judges are being bypassed in giving sensitive cases. So here it is the time the CJI himself has to initiate the reform to protect the respect and dignity of the Supreme Court. That's how this article talks about. Article 12, it defines the state. In this definition of the state, judiciary do not fall. So it means both administrative and judicial functions come with the Article 12. So what author argues is the judicial functions, they do not come under the definition of the state, but administrative functions, yes, they do come under the definition of state. So Article 13 talks about the state shall not violate or make any law that violates fundamental rights. It means if any administrative action of the Supreme Court, if it is violative of the fundamental rights, it shall be declared as null and void. You know that in Menaka Gandhi case, Supreme Court itself has brought in due process of law and principles of natural justice. It means that no one shall be a judge of his own case. So here, the arbitrariness and violation of the principles of natural justice exist in constitutional bench judgment in declaring CJI as the master of the roster. Let me put it this way. The constitutional bench declared, headed by CJI Deepak Mishra himself, stated that the CJI is the master of the roster. It means CJI has become judge of his own case, so it is violative of the principles of natural justice. And Supreme Court also stated that Arbitrariness is against to right to equality. So any action of the CJI, if it is arbitrary, it has to be questioned. So that's the reason why, rather than having an institution in its own self, the CJI shall become an institution reflecting the entire judiciary. So that institutional reform is necessary, where the CJI has to consult with his colleagues before making important decisions. That's how the reform has to be initiated. The dragon beckons again. No formality, Z Modi to meet without aids. If you see, the Wuhan summit is an informal summit. No preset agenda. Only interlocutors will be present without the aid of the officers. So it means India and China are going to redefine their relations for the future. What might have forced these two countries to take this step? It is the changing global order. What are the things happening? The Cold War is again appears to be resurfacing. If you see Syria, recently US and its Western allies have attacked the Assad's government positions. And obviously Russia is in support of the Assad. So the Cold War appears to be coming back. And there is uncertainty in the global order, especially due to uncertainty in the United States policies. It is making everyone insecure. It is the case with the Japan, case with the China, etc. And in this context, China, Japan are showing a reapproachment. And Mr. Z and Shinzo Abe are exchanging the visits with each other. They're also talking about how to align Belt and Road Initiative with the open and free Indo-Pacific strategy of Japan. And the third thing is, United States of America appears to be acting unilaterally with regard to the trade, tariffs, and also sanctions. Recently, it has passed a law which is related to imposing sanctions against the business entities that are working in association with adversaries. So, acting against the or countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act, it is famously called as. So, the growing protectionism and United States moving away from Trans-Pacific Partnership has put its allies, especially Japan and ASEAN countries, in a flux. So this is keeping the world insecure. And finally, the Russia and China are coming close together, and India is being left over in this particular axis. This is what is the background background in which both these leaders are meeting with each other in Wuhan. And second is, Prime Minister Modi has two objectives from this meeting. One is to find a quick settlement to border issue, and the second thing is to build a new Asian century. So, in this context, relations between India, China, Japan, three major Asian powers is essential. Probably Wuhan is expected to be a first step in this direction. And second, India and China may have differences, but they can talk to each other. It is the objective that it is necessary to send this perception to the people. So it can solve the problems such as Doklam when they appear again. This is what this article talks about. Nabbing absconders. It is about the Fugitives Bill. So, a fugitive is a person who is avoiding the criminal prosecution in India, and especially economic fugitives are on rise in the country. So, this bill also states that the government can confiscate their properties, attach their properties, and also properties of their binamis. Obviously, it is going to put much of legal energy into it. The reasons are, for example, a person X keeps his property in the binami name Y. How the government can prove that Y is the binami of X when X is not available in the country is a major question. But however, we can say that this is a positive step to address the economic offences in the country. Iran may quit NPT if Trump scraps the deal. So Iran nuclear deal, it was built with lot of pains by the Obama regime. And it was not just the deal with United States of America, and many of the European countries are also being participants to this along with China and Russia. So in this context, the Trump's unilateral move to scrap the Iran nuclear deal may push the conservatives in Iran to go on to the top, and it may lead to a death end to the non-proliferation treaty. So, if Iran goes out of the NPT, probably many other countries may follow the suit. So, it is better to continue the Iran nuclear deal till Iran follows whatever the conditions it agreed upon. Till now, IAEA has stated repeatedly that Iran is following whatever the sanctions been kept on it or whatever the conditionalities that are being put onto it. Army set to break glass ceiling. For women in army, the permanent commission is never a possibility before. Now, after the Supreme Court directions, army is considering giving women the permanent commission. Normally, they can stay in army for 14 years under short service commission. So once this permanent commission comes into picture, then Indian army is going to become gender sensitive. That's how we can state it as. But the major problem for the army is to create necessary logistical arrangements to accommodate the women officers and women soldiers. That's how it has been stated as. No slur on eastern states. So let's not get into the slur or politics surrounding it. Let's understand the issue over here. So Mr. Amitabh Kant, the CEO of Niti Aayog, he is seeking about Aspired Districts program. So Aspired Districts program is to identify the backward districts and creating an horizontal administrative mechanism for a speedy human development in these districts. It means there will be an officer at the central government level, state government level, and at the district level. All these will be working on horizontally rather than going through the ropes of the bureaucracy. So a quick decision making can be possible over here, and added to that, a quick action plan with the help of the district collector can be initiated. And it is also undertaken in the spirit of cooperative federalism because the states are being made partners with prior consultation. So it is expected to provide greater focus on the backward districts and with administrative direction from the officer of the rank of additional secretary from above for every district is going to smoothen the processes. This is one administrative or governance innovation under this program. The hierarchical structures are being converted more into flat administrative structures. Meeting Mr. Mubaya. So here, a journalist has tried to meet Mr. Mubaya. Beyond this, let's understand. The Indian government and Nagaland, that is NSCN-IM, Isaac Mubaya, it has come into an agreement. It has been stated that the essence of agreement is shared sovereignty. Neither Government of India nor NSCN-IM has revealed what constitutes the shared sovereignty. But in this interview, Mr. Mubaya has made a statement that they are not relinquishing their demand for separate identity, separate passport, separate flag. It means, in a nutshell, they are demanding for their sovereignty and their demand of sovereignty is intact. So that's what it was revealed. And it has exposed the deal, or else it has exposed the weakness of the deal Indian government has made with NSCN. Regulation of e-commerce necessary. This is what Mr. Suresh Prabhu, Commerce Minister, states. E-commerce is one of the growth engine of the economy today. It has improved the efficiency and productivity of service delivery. So in this context, Mr. Suresh Prabhu states that an element of regulation is necessary as more and more customers are being pulled into the e-commerce. And e-commerce is the space where most of the foreign companies are active in the retail sector. So that's why regulation is being spoken about. I gave you the notes at likes.in/civilsprep. You can download them. Thank you very much. All the best.